This is Murder with Mike, and tonight's episode deals with a case that strikes the heart of what we hold most dear, the bond between mother and child. So before we begin, I want to acknowledge that we're discussing real victims and their loved ones. This case deeply affected the Hot Springs, Arkansas community, and we'll be covering it, excuse me, with the utmost respect that it deserves, guys. Hot Springs, Arkansas, a city known for its natural thermal springs, historic bathhouses, and the kind of close-knit community where neighbors still know each other's names. It is a place where tourists come to relax, where families build their lives, and where generally violent crime is not part of the daily conversation. But in December 2020, this peaceful community would be forever changed. In an apartment complex where children's toys dotted the landscaping and holiday decorations brightened windows, an unthinkable tragedy was about to unfold. Shaquilla Watts was a young mother living in Hot Springs with her 5-year-old son, Zavon. Like many parents, she had dreams and aspirations, not just for herself, but for her little boy. Zavon was at that magical age where every day begins with new discoveries, where kindergarten adventures become epic stories, and where a mother's love shapes the person they will become. Their story would be cut tragically short. In their own apartment, a place that should have been their sanctuary, both Shaquilla and her young Zavon would fall victim to an act of violence that continues to haunt this community. Alright, to understand the impact of this tragedy, we need to look at Hot Springs itself. With a population of roughly 38,000 people, it is a city where violent crime is not common. The kind of place where people leave their doors unlocked and children play freely in their own yards. The murder of this mother and child did not just make headlines. It really did shatter the community's sense of security. So the Hot Springs Police Department received the call in December 2020. What they found at the scene would stay with them even for the most seasoned officers. A mother and her 5-year-old son, both victims of homicide in their own home. The detective on scene said, and I quote, "In law enforcement, we see a lot of difficult things, but when it involves a child and their mother, it does hit different. These cases stay with you. They drive you to work harder, to find answers, and to get the justice for the victims." The investigation would reveal that this wasn't a random act. This was targeted. Someone had deliberately entered the apartment where Shaquilla and Javon lived. Someone had made the conscious decision to end not just one life, but two, including that of an innocent child, y'all. So the community response was immediate. Vigils were held, prayers were said. Neighbors who had never met Sheila or Zavon come together to mourn their loss and demand justice. Local organizations stepped up to offer rewards for information leading to arrest. In cases like these, we often focus on the investigation, the evidence, the search for the suspects. But tonight, I want us to remember the victims, Shaquilla and Zavon, as they were, a mother and a son who were part of a community, who had friends, family, hopes, and dreams. Zavon was just 5 years old. Think about that for a minute, guys. 5 years old. He was probably learning to tie his shoes, learning to write his own name, making friends at school, and then his whole life was taken away from him. And Shaquilla, a young mother doing what countless parents do every day, working to provide for her child, creating a home, building a future. Both of their lives mattered, guys. Both of their deaths left holes in the hearts of those who knew and loved them. The Hot Springs Police Department continues to investigate this case. Like many similar investigations, they believe that someone out there knows something, a detail that might seem small but could be the key to bringing justice to this case. So, As the community of Hot Springs looks at that apartment complex every day they drive by, they're probably struck by how normal everything looks. Children still play in the nearby park, people still walk their dogs, life goes on. But for those who knew Shaquilla and Zayvon, nothing will ever quite be the same. If you're listening to this and you have any information about what happened to Shaquilla Watts and her son Zayvon in December of 2020, please contact the Hot Springs Police Department. And remember, guys, no detail's too small. Every family deserves answers. This community deserves closure. And most importantly, Shaquilla and Zayvon deserve justice. So to the family and friends of Shaquilla and Zayvon who might be listening, we honor their memory. We acknowledge their loss. And we hope that by sharing their story, we might help you bring up answers you deserve. Guys, this has been Murder with Mike, and remember to hold your loved ones close and never ever take a single moment for granted. Sometimes the most ordinary days can be the most precious. For Shaquilla and Zayvon, and for all of these victims and other victims of senseless violence, we'll keep telling these stories, guys. We'll keep telling these stories to remind everyone, to bring awareness to this. Because every victim deserves to be remembered and every case deserves to be solved. Alright guys, I'm Mike. Thank you for listening and we'll be back next week. I love you all.